Hey friend, welcome back to the Halfway to Dead mini edition. It's time to hit you with some wellness wisdom today. Guys, we have to take care of our aging mind and body so we can finish this life strong. Are you ready? Okay, jump in. Ride shotgun with me as we continue on this midlife spiritual journey together. Okay, you guys, welcome back to this week's Wellness Wisdom. We have Kimberly Roberts back with us, and she's here to talk to us about the power of Yin Yoga for emotional awareness and intelligence. Because Yin is so much more than just a physical stretch. Is that right, Kimberly?
Oh my God, you got that right. Absolutely. I tell that to my students probably at least once in every single class that I teach. It's not so much about the stretch. It certainly isn't about how you look in the pose. It's all about how you feel and what you're getting to process and let go of. Because I tell my students all the time, our organs are like little suitcases. And you know what happens to a suitcase when you keep putting stuff into it, right? If you're not taking anything out, eventually the suitcase gets like, it's so stuffed, it explodes, right? And that's what happens with our body. If we're not processing and releasing emotions, they got to go somewhere. So they get stored in our organs, quote unquote, these little suitcases. And if we don't empty them out, we end up getting sick.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So what is the process of trying to release some of these things from unpack these suitcases? We got to unpack the suitcases. So what do you suggest? Do we start with whatever's bothering us the most emotionally, or do we even need to choose that? Or do we just kind of dig in?
Well, I mean, sometimes some people are they're at that level of enough awareness that they're like, you know what, I've put some basic pieces together and I can see that, like, I'll just use an example. Irritation is coming up for me all the time. Like I'm always irritated about something, not even anything in particular. It's just, that's always coming up. So I would say like when people are aware that there's a certain emotion that they're experiencing over and over again, then that's kind of like phase one of what I consider the healing journey, because they're aware. They're like, okay, well, yeah, I'm always irritated. But then the next part is the contemplation of why am I irritated all the time? Like, what's causing that? And that's where a lot of people often get stuck. So anger is a really good one. I'm going to use anger as a really good example because for most of us, we've been taught from, our parents and past generations, like anger is not something that you express.
Right. You just shove it down. You just bury it.
Exactly. Right. It's inappropriate to get angry, especially towards someone. And while I agree with that, like absolutely, depending on the context, obviously, there's reasons why you wouldn't express anger towards somebody. But if somebody was threatening you physically and you had to protect yourself, well, that might not necessarily be a bad emotion to have come up, right?
Right.
But we're talking in 98% of the cases, we're told to just shove down anger. So where do we shove it down when people use that expression? Our liver. That's where we store irritation and frustration and anger and rage and resentment and bitterness. And so when we are aware, then we contemplate. But that's where a lot of people either choose contemplation or they choose the easy route out, which is just suppress and shove it down and hope it just, goes away like sweeping dust under the carpet, right? But it doesn't work that way. Eventually, the irritation just keeps building and building and building, the anger and anger and anger, right? And eventually you get to a point where you literally lose it. You can't handle it anymore and you implode. And it's kind of like the suitcase, right? You've packed it so much that now it's like, there's nothing else that I can put in there. So now it's just imploding.
Yeah. Get rid of this anger.
Well, that's when contemplation comes in. So if we stop at that first pivotal point where it's like, okay, I know that this emotion is always coming up for me. I'm not going to suppress it. I'm not going to forget about it, but I'm going to start to ask some really good questions like, why am I always irritated? What is always irritating me? How long does this irritation last for? Is it only one thing that irritates me, or is it something else? We have to start asking questions of ourselves. We have to
Okay.
start contemplating. We have to start reflecting. And once we get those answers, then it's like, and sometimes I get those answers when I'm in a yin pose. I'll be like, okay, I'm irritated. Why? Why am I irritated? What have I got to be irritated about? Let's talk about this. And I'll have my journal literally right beside my mat so that if something, really inspirational comes to me, I can just jot it down. So it's there, right? And so when I have some thoughts and I'm starting to contemplate, then I figure out why that emotion is coming up. Then the next critical part is, well, I want to process the emotion. Like I want it out. I don't want to keep it in me.
Okay.
I mean, if you look at the word emotions and you break it down, it's emotion. Emotion, meaning energy in motion.
Yeah.
All our emotions are always meant to move through us. They're never meant to stick around for long periods of time.
No, but that's what we do. We keep it.
We are the ones. Yes, absolutely. We are the ones that keep it in us instead of allowing our body to and our mind to process and release.
I think a lot of women in midlife, this is big. We are
Oh my God, huge.
spent our whole lives holding everything in for everybody else, right? Oh, I don't want to take up my space. I don't want everybody to be upset. I'll just take on the burden myself.
Exactly.
And then we start getting sick. Yep. And
Yeah.
so we've got to do things like these yin poses and start releasing it. And like you said, feel the feeling, acknowledge it, right? Number one. Number two, contemplate and figure out why am I feeling this? Where does it always lead backwards, do you think? Like into your past or no?
A lot of the times it does. It'll bring up the past and trauma that we've had.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's something very recent that we've been exposed to, but quite frankly, even if it is something really recent, there's probably always been some past component we just weren't aware of.
Okay. All right. So we're contemplating figuring it out. And now how do we get it out? What do we do
This
next?
is where I use Yin Yoga.
Okay. Perfect.
Get on the mat and I get into poses that start to not just lengthen out the connective tissue in our body and make us more flexible and make our joints more supple, but this beautiful system, this energetic meridian system that we have that travels through our body, travels through the connective tissue. That's sort of like the gateway of the flow. And so if you think about acupuncture or acupressure, when you press on a point, it starts to move the energy through that meridian channel. It's the same thing with yin. It's done through the long held stretch. And as it stretches out the fascia and connective tissue, the meridian channel is within that channel, depending on what area of the body you're stimulating. And what it does is it helps to move the energy through, clear out the blockages. And then eventually it ends up, some pathway into an organ system. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like flushing out the organ, right? And getting rid of all the emotional and mental and physical dis-ease that's been stuck in a particular organ. And each yin pose stimulates specific organs depending on what the pose is.
So is there just a couple different techniques that you can explain to us that we could start using right away? Obviously, we need to learn more about doing the yin yoga classes, but are there any techniques that, whether it's a pressure point we could work with, or whether it's an actual pose that we could start just doing on our own, stretching out? Do you have a couple?
Absolutely. So when I did my yin yoga teacher training many, over 20 years ago, I remember my teacher at the time saying to me, if you can only do one yin yoga pose ever, it would be butterfly pose. And butterfly pose is like if you're sitting, you would bring the soles of your feet together and you would let your knees open up like a book to either side of your mat. So you're creating kind of like a diamond with your legs and you're sitting upright and then you start to kind of fold forward. And you can use props like blankets and bolsters or blocks underneath your knees to support your hips. You can even sit up on the edge of, a rolled up blanket or towel or even a block or a bolster to kind of just elevate your spine and support it. And then you start to fold forward. And the beautiful thing about this pose is that between the inner thigh stretch, the outer thigh stretch, and the back of the body being stretched and the front of the body being slightly compressed as you fold forward, it literally activates every single meridian channel in your body.
Ooh,
from
I like
one
that.
single pose. So you could hang out in butterfly for like 5 minutes and you'll stimulate, your liver meridian channel, your gallbladder meridian channel, your spleen meridian, your stomach meridian, your kidney, your bladder, heart, small intestine, large intestine, all of them, lungs, like everything can get stimulated from one single pose. So she was like, 5 minutes, one pose a day. Boom, there you go. You can stretch out everything and activate all channels.
So it's a butterfly pose. Okay, so basically you said it's our feet together, the soles of our feet together. We're making a diamond shape, so our legs are kind of falling open to the side like the little butterfly wings, right?
Yep.
And then we're sitting straight up and then coming forward.
Again, it's not about what it looks like. It's about how it feels. Enough of a stretch that you're like, okay, something's being activated here. Now I'm just going to stay here and I'm going to kind of marinate in this and I'm going to use my breath. I'm going to breathe really deeply and I'm just going to allow my body to receive and to allow the energy to start to flow through the connective tissue. And you know what? Like in that particular pose, because everything is being stimulated, there's any number of emotions that might come up, but I always say that even if, say, for example, my theme of my class is the spleen meridian for worry. It may not be worry that comes up for you. It might be irritation or maybe sadness. It's not so much about it has to be a specific emotion as it is about just being in a pose and allowing your body to let go of what it feels is needed to let go of in that moment.
Okay, so we're doing the butterfly pose. And just briefly tell me because breath work is probably an important component too. What exactly are we breathing in through our nose, long inhales, exhales through the mouth? What's the best breath work to go along with the butterfly?
Well, a lot of the times I do breath in through the nose, breath out through the nose. Usually I do like a count of 3 inhales to a count of 5 exhales. I will often have my students pause in between the inhale and the exhale for a moment. But I often say that if you're feeling a lot coming up, if there's a lot of heat in your body that you're feeling, or if there's just a lot of emotions coming up, breathe out through the mouth. Just think of it like the breath out is like your relief. So some people, it's like when they breathe a forceful exhale through the mouth, it's like they really feel like they're letting something go. So I say there's no wrong way to breathe, just as long as you're breathing with some intention. Like if you're restricting and holding your breath, that's not good. But if you're like, you know what, right now in this pose, I feel like breathing in for 5 counts and I feel like breathing out for 7. Go for it.
Yeah. As long as you have intention, you're not accidentally holding your breath the whole time or something. You just want to do some kind of an intentional breathing technique.
Exactly. It's when people start to hold the breath in is when it's kind of like, well, the breath is moving everything through. And then if you just shut the breath down because say the stretch is becoming too intense and your body can't handle it, then it's like you just turn the hose off. Now nothing's flowing. And the moment you start to tense up, you're shutting down everything. So your breath is the most important. I say it all the time. Your breath is the most important prop in your yin practice. Without it, you're not really doing yin if you're not doing the breath work.
Okay. So breath work is key. So that's like your instructor told you, that's probably the best one to start if you guys want to start today. Dipping your toe into some yin poses. Let's do the butterfly with some breath work and see what we can release because it's going to release almost anything since it's activating everything, right?
Be open to what could be released because we can often get really rigid around that, especially when we start to get aware Like, oh, I'm always angry, or, oh, I'm always fearful. So we get on the mat and it's like, okay, today I'm going to do these poses and I'm going to let the fear go. Well, that might not happen. It might not happen in a pose. It might happen between poses. It might happen a few hours later. Like, I remember in one of my teacher trainings, we were doing a practice, and that, like, we were really stirring up some emotional stuff, and I was okay during the practice, but then I got home that night and I just lost it. Like, I went through 3 boxes of Kleenex. I was crying so much. Then I got really angry, and then I got really scared. And then all of a sudden it was like, and now I'm done and I'm complete, and then I had emotional releases in the worst places, like in the middle of Costco. All of a sudden I burst out in tears, and it's like, hey, I really didn't want to do this here, but my body was like, okay, you know what? It's safe to let go. Let's let it go. So, okay, all right. Yeah, I'm crying in Costco. I don't care what people think.
Yeah. So don't go into it, sounds like, with any expectation set in stone, right? Let your body do what it's going to do, and your emotions might hit you now, might hit you later. Maybe you won't hit it all from that particular practice that day.
And one other piece of really crucial advice I want to give people is that sometimes we'll have an emotional release, but we don't know what we're letting go of. Like, we don't have the context around it. And that happened to me so many times. I would be in a yin practice and I would get angry, or I would get, scared. And I'm like, where did that come from? I don't know, but I just let it go. And that's all I care about. Because I used to fester about it. I'd be like, okay, I released anger, but what was I angry about? Like, what did I, and I'd start to overanalyze it and overthink it. And then I was like, okay, that just doesn't do me any good. So I just let it go now. And I'm just like, okay, well, I guess I released some anger. There was something that and sometimes the awareness comes down the road of like, oh yeah, now I remember why I was angry, right? Like, it doesn't always come together in this neat little package with a bow on it.
No, because sometimes we're going to cry and we don't know why we're crying until much later. Like, I don't know why I'm crying. I'm fine. But then later you're like, oh no, I wasn't fine. That's why I was crying, wasn't I? Yeah. So just be open to all of it. And because opening our hearts and letting go of these emotions is actually the only way to heal. We cannot keep them stored in our bodies, or it will make us sick, as we both experienced that. So yeah. Okay, perfect. All right, you guys. So it's time for you to look into the Yin Yoga and start with this butterfly pose. And I'm sure you can Google if you want a better video of exactly what this would look like. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
This is a great starting point for releasing some of these emotions through Yin Yoga. Because like you said, it's not just about the stretches. It's about healing all the way down to our organs.
Yeah. And creating your best life.
And creating our best life. Oh, and isn't that what we're trying to do? We're trying to finish this whole midlife thing strong. Let's do it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm 57 and I can honestly say that I truthfully feel like I'm living my best life now.
Yep.
And I don't care that it's happening now. All that I care about is that it's happening. Like, that's all that matters to me. So who cares? Just start somewhere.
Okay. Well, this is a great starting point for us. So you guys get going on your butterfly pose and your breath work, and we'll see you next time for more wellness wisdom. Thanks, guys. I hope you learned something today that you can implement into your life. And remember to use the links in the show notes to do your own personal deep dive into today's wellness wisdom topic. Also, please share this episode with a friend who might be looking for ways to improve their health and wellness too. Thank you so much for spending time with me today, and I can't wait to hit you with some more wellness wisdom next Monday. Oh, and I really can't forget the fine print again. You know, that legal jargon. This podcast is presented solely for educational and entertainment purposes. We're just two friends on this journey together, and this podcast is not intended as a substitute for the advice of a physician, professional coach, psychotherapist, or any other qualified professional. I know you guys get it, so I'll see you next time.